Good morning. Together for another sunrise. The colors are just outstanding. We're going to go on with chapter 6 from The Loss That Is Forever. This chapter is titled Building Relationships, the Dance of Love and Loss. When a parent dies young, the pleasure of loving is tied permanently to the pain of loss. Love and loss are no longer separate and distinct. Like the branches of a vine, they have grown so entwined that it is impossible to see one without also seeing the other. The young child learns that to love is to lose, or at the very least, to risk losing the beloved. As one woman whose father died when she was 3 confided, "Deep down, I believe all men will leave me eventually." As each of us grows older, we begin to learn one of life's most important lessons. There is no beginning without an ending. There is no love without the loss of that love. Nothing lasts forever, and the things we hold dear eventually leave us. However, for most of us, those lessons are learned when we are old enough to put them in the perspective of a full and complete life. When a child learns such a lesson young, that lesson colors forever the way relationships are experienced. Imagine for a moment that you are a young child being asked to watch a pair of dancers perform an intricate dance routine. The partners in this metaphorical dance are named love and loss. You are an unsophisticated audience, this being the only performance you have ever watched. As love and loss glide across the dance floor, their movements are so perfectly synchronized that they hardly seem like 2 separate dancers. You cannot imagine that these 2 are ever apart, much less that they might choose to dance with other partners. All you know of the world of dance pairs, love and loss as permanent companions. When a child loses a loved parent, the child learns that love and the pain of abandonment are inseparable. As the child grows into adulthood, he or she must figure out how to build intimate relationships with this early reality as a backdrop. As the childish pledge, "I'll never love anyone again," begins to wane, as it does in most but not all cases, the adult survivor of early loss must develop a strategy for how to love in a world where loss and abandonment are ever-present dangers. Troy is convinced that his bisexuality was in part his personal response to the dilemma of how to love in a world where loss is ever-present. Troy, who was 16 when his mother died, was an active and well-known member of his high school community. He was an athlete and a leader in student government. When his mother died, he was not surprised by the warm outpouring of support and sympathy, not only from his immediate friends, but from a much wider circle of acquaintances. 30 years after his mother's death, Troy still has all of the notes written to him by classmates trying to offer their sympathy. Troy remembers thinking at the time of his loss, "If I can lose my mother, I can lose anybody." I better not say no to any love that is offered to me. Troy remembers feeling that rather than closing down following his mother's death, he opened himself up to multiple possibilities. Meaningful relationships need not be limited by traditional categories of age, race, gender, and class. Troy believes that his bisexual lifestyle was informed by his early experience of loss. He felt that one could feel love equally in the arms of a man or a woman, and one who had lost the love of a mother could not afford to say no to any potential lover. Most adults who lost parents in childhood do find some way to have relationships despite the connection between love and potential loss. They weigh the risks of losing against the joys of loving, and they devise some compromise that allows them to move forward. Many of the people whom I interviewed commented that it seemed to take them longer than their peers to feel able to enter a long-term relationship. They also reported feeling less resilient in the face of rejection. One man recalled years of being dejected and unfocused following a rejection by his girlfriend. Interestingly, her rejection of him came because he was unable to make a commitment to her. He was only able to put the loss behind him when a therapist assured him, "Get over it. It's not the worst thing in the world." I cannot tell how clear that is, my friends. Wow, that looks clear. Okay. Some other survivors of early loss seemed unable to acknowledge the ongoing tension between love and loss. They only felt comfortable seeing one half of the duality. Some saw only love, others focused only on loss. To see both partners in the dance caused them too much anxiety and confusion. Those who focused on love were absolutely determined to love again. They held a belief like the refrain of the once popular song, "Only love can break a heart, only love can mend it again." It is as if these individuals were defeated on the playing field of love once a long time ago, and they are insistent on their right for a rematch. Loss has not jaded them to the possibility of love and human connection. Rather, it has made them determined to find for themselves the comfort and support they once knew. My puppy is snoring right behind my seat, so I know little sounds are sneaking in there, just explaining what they were. Oh my goodness, that's a whole bunch of pelicans. I was staring at the sky and missing the birds. All right. Those who saw only loss, in contrast, needed to find some way to distance themselves from human connections and intimate relationships. They could not risk being seduced by the joys of love because the pain of another loss was just too great. C.S. Lewis, who for many years turned away from loving relationships after the death of his mother, speaks for many of these individuals when he says, "I had been far more anxious to avoid suffering than to achieve delight. I had always aimed at limited liabilities. Survivors of early loss must all find some way to solve the problem of intimacy. Most attempts to have relationships, despite their belief that love and loss are inevitably intertwined. Others believe that they must selectively see only one side of the duality, focusing only on love or only on loss. For them to see both is too dangerous and too confusing. I'm going to stop here and continue on. This next part is living with the tension between love and loss. I hope you will continue with me. My goodness, that's a lot of parts. Thank you for being with me this morning. The sun's just about to come up. Let's see if I can get us turned around and see some of those birds. I think they're probably used to seeing me now. Like there's that lady reading her book in the car. With her sleeping dogs. My goodness. Beautiful morning. Thank you for listening and watching. I appreciate you.